The Lexus SUV idled at a traffic light in Mushin. Through the tinted window, Nnamdi Okafor's world stopped. There, sitting on the dusty pavement with a cardboard sign, was an 8-year-old boy in a torn school uniform. When the child looked up, Nnamdi's heart shattered. Those eyes, he knew those eyes. They were his own. The boy was Chinedu, his son. Welcome to TeeJay Stories, where we bring you the most gripping tales of family, betrayal, and redemption from the heart of Africa. I'm TeeJay, and today's story will leave you absolutely stunned. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you don't want to miss a single moment. And if you're already part of our family, drop a comment. What would you do if you found your child begging on the street? Now let's dive into Chapter 1. The glass and steel tower of Novatech Solutions rose above Victoria Island like a monument to ambition. Nnamdi Okafor stepped out of his chauffeur-driven Lexus LX 600 at exactly 7:45 a.m., his custom-tailored charcoal suit catching the early Lagos sunlight. At 42, he was everything Nigeria celebrated: self-made tech billionaire, Forbes Africa featured, the man who'd built Nigeria's leading cybersecurity firm from a one-room office in Yaba to a Pan-African empire. "Good morning, sir," the security guards chorused, snapping to attention. Nnamdi nodded absently, already scrolling through emails on his iPhone. 53 unread messages. A board meeting at 9 a.m. Conference call with investors in Dubai at 11. Lunch meeting with the Minister of Communications. Interview with CNN Africa at 3 p.m. Another day in paradise. The executive elevator whisked him to the 20th floor, where his corner office commanded a view of the Lagos lagoon. His assistant, Chidinma, everyone called her Chloe, was already at her desk outside his office, immaculate as always in a navy pencil skirt and cream blouse. "Morning, sir. Your coffee is ready, and Mr. Mensah called 3 times already. He says it's urgent about the Ghana expansion." "Adrian always thinks everything is urgent," Nnamdi muttered, loosening his tie as he entered his office. "Tell him I'll call after the board meeting." "Yes, sir. Also, Mrs. Okafor called twice this morning. She said, I'll call her back." Nnamdi waved dismissively, already pulling up presentation slides on his dual monitors. "Anything else?" Chloe hesitated. She said it was about Chinedu. Something about school. "Chloe, please. I have 50 things to handle before 9 a.m. Whatever it is, Amara can manage it. That's what we pay the school fees for, isn't it?" He didn't mean to sound harsh, but time was money, and money was everything in this business. "Of course, sir." Chloe's voice was neutral, professional. She'd worked for him for 6 years and knew when to push and when to retreat. As she closed the door, Nnamdi's phone buzzed again. "Amara." He silenced it and turned to his presentation. The board meeting was crucial. They were voting on whether to accept a merger offer from a South African conglomerate. Adrian was pushing hard for it, but something about the deal felt off to Nnamdi. The numbers were too good. In his experience, when something seemed too perfect, it usually was. His phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Amara. "Please, just 5 minutes. It's about Chini." Nnamdi sighed, guilt pricking at him. Chinedu, Chini as they called him, was 8 years old. Smart kid. Quiet. Maybe too quiet lately now that Nnamdi thought about it. When was the last time they'd really talked? Sunday? No, he'd been on a conference call all Sunday. Last weekend? He'd been in Abuja for a government contract negotiation. He typed back, "In meetings all day. We'll talk tonight. Promise." The same promise he'd made last week. And the week before. Meanwhile, in their sprawling Lekki Phase 1 mansion, Amara Okafor stood in the kitchen, staring at her husband's text with a mixture of frustration and resignation. Around her, the morning chaos of getting 2 children ready for school swirled like a familiar storm. "Mama. Chini won't eat his breakfast." 5-year-old Kayamika, Chioma for short, appeared in the doorway, her school uniform already stained with what looked like toothpaste. "Chioma, I just dressed you 10 minutes ago. How are you dirty already?" "It was an accident." Amara closed her eyes, counting to 10. At 38, she sometimes felt twice that age. The woman who'd graduated top of her class from University of Lagos with a degree in architecture now spent her days managing a household, coordinating with staff, and single-handedly raising 2 children while her husband built his empire. "Where is your brother?" she asked. "In his room. He's just sitting there. He won't talk to me." Amara climbed the stairs to Chinedu's room, her house slippers silent on the Italian marble. She knocked gently. "Chinny? Baby, you need to finish your breakfast. Uche will take you to school soon." No response. She pushed open the door. Chinedu sat on his bed, still in his pajamas, staring at his hands. His school uniform lay untouched on the chair. His school bag remained unpacked from yesterday. "Chinedu!" Amara sat beside him, suddenly alert. Something was wrong. A mother knows. "Baby, what's going on?" "Nothing, Mama." His voice was small, hollow. Unlike the boy who used to chatter endlessly about his friends, about the coding club at school, about wanting to be like his father. "This is not nothing. You haven't been yourself for weeks now. Is someone bothering you at school? Is it your teacher? Your friends?" Chinedu's eyes filled with tears, but he blinked them back. "I'm fine, Mama. Can I stay home today? You've missed 3 days this month already. Your teacher sent me an email asking if everything is okay at home." Amara cupped his face gently. "Talk to me, baby. Whatever it is, we can fix it." "Can we?" Chinedu looked at her with eyes too old for an 8-year-old. "Can we really fix everything?" Before Amara could respond, her phone rang. The school. Her stomach tightened. "Mrs. Okafor, this is Mrs. Adekunle from Green Hill Academy. We need to speak with you about Chinedu's attendance and his recent behavior. Can you and your husband come in today?" "I'll be there. My husband he's in meetings all day." "I see." Mrs. Adekunle's tone said everything her words didn't. "Well, we really do need to speak with both parents. There are some concerning developments." After hanging up, Amara tried calling Nnamdi again. Voicemail. She texted, "The school called. Serious. Chinny needs you. We need you." The response came 20 minutes later. "Can you handle it? Really swamped today. Board meeting just started. We'll make it up to you all this weekend." Amara stared at the message, something hardening in her chest. This weekend. Always this weekend. Always tomorrow. Always later. Never now. She looked at Chinedu, who'd finally gotten dressed but moved like a robot going through programmed motions. Something was desperately wrong with her son, and her husband was too busy building his empire to notice their family was crumbling. "Come on, baby," she said softly. "Let's get you to school." As Uche, their driver, loaded the children into the Mercedes, Amara stood at the doorway of their mansion. 5 bedrooms, cinema room, swimming pool, every luxury money could buy, and felt utterly alone. Inside the car, Chinedu pressed his face against the window, watching the Lego streets blur past. His backpack held something he'd been hiding for 2 weeks now. A cardboard sign, carefully folded, with words written in his own handwriting. "Please help. Hungry. Family in trouble." He'd made it at the instruction of a man who visited him after school. A man who'd shown him pictures of his father with another woman. A man who'd said terrible things about his family losing everything. A man who'd promised that if Chinny did exactly as told, everything would be okay. The man's name was Uncle Adrian, his father's best friend and business partner. And Chinedu, 8 years old and terrified, believed every word. Back at Novatech headquarters, the board meeting stretched into its 3rd hour. Adrian Mensah, impeccably dressed in a 3-piece suit, was presenting the merger proposal with the polish of a man who'd rehearsed every word. "Gentlemen, ladies," Adrian's Ghanaian-Nigerian accent was smooth as aged whiskey. "This merger represents unprecedented growth. Our South African partners bring infrastructure, capital, and continental reach. We're not just building a Nigerian company, we're building an African giant." Nnamdi watched his partner of 10 years work the room. Adrian was good. Too good. Every board member was nodding, convinced. But something nagged at Nnamdi. Maybe it was the way Adrian had been asking too many personal questions lately. About his family. about his marriage, about his children. Before we vote, Nnamdi interjected, I'd like 2 more weeks to review the fine print. This is a decision that will affect every employee, every stakeholder. 2 weeks. Adrian's smile never wavered, but his eyes hardened. Nathan, we've been reviewing this for 3 months. The offer expires in 48 hours. If we don't decide now, we lose the opportunity of a lifetime. Opportunities come and go, but a bad deal lasts forever. The room fell silent. This was the first time the 2 partners had openly disagreed in front of the board. Perhaps, Adrian said carefully, your judgment is clouded by other matters. I've heard there are some family issues requiring your attention. Nnamdi's head snapped up. What did you say? Nothing, my brother. Just that everyone knows you've been stressed. Maybe you should take some time off. Let the rest of us handle this. The implication was clear. Nnamdi was losing his grip. And if the board believed that, Adrian could push through the merger and anything else he wanted. We'll vote next week, Nnamdi said firmly. Meeting adjourned. As everyone filed out, Adrian lingered. Nathan, I'm worried about you. About your family. If there's anything I can do to help. We're fine, Adrian. Everything is perfectly fine. But as Nnamdi said the words, his phone buzzed with another text from Amara. This one had a photo attached, an empty seat in Chinedu's classroom. The message read, they said someone signed Chini out of school 2 hours ago, using your name, but you're in your office. So where is our son? Nnamdi's blood turned to ice. His perfect life, his perfect day, his perfect world. All of it was about to shatter in ways he couldn't begin to imagine. And the man standing across from him, smiling that perfect smile, knew exactly where it was all heading. Nnamdi's hands shook as he redialed Amara's number for the 5th time. Straight to voicemail. He tried the school. Busy. He tried Uche, the driver. No answer. Chloe. He burst out of his office, startling his assistant. Get me the headmistress at Green Hill Academy. Now. And find out where Uche is with the car. Sir, is everything. Now. Within 3 minutes, he had Mrs. Adekunle on the line. Mr. Okafor, thank God. Your wife is on her way here. We're very confused about what happened. A man came with proper documentation. ID. Authorization letter with your signature. I didn't sign anything. What did this man look like? Tall, well-dressed, spoke excellent English. He said there was a family emergency and you'd sent him to collect Chinedu. He had all the right paperwork, so our security. What time was this? About 10:30 this morning. Nnamdi checked his watch. 1:47 p.m. His son had been missing for over 3 hours. I'm calling the police. Mr. Okafor, please, let's not be hasty. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. My 8-year-old son was taken from school by someone impersonating me. There's no misunderstanding. He hung up and immediately dialed the Lekki police station. As he gave his report to a bored-sounding officer who promised to look into it, Nnamdi's mind raced. Who would take Chinedu? Kidnappers? But there'd been no ransom call. Someone trying to hurt him through his family? He'd made enemies in business, sure, but this was insane. His phone rang. Amara. Her voice was barely controlled hysteria. They said someone had your signature, your ID number, everything. How is that possible, Nnamdi? How does someone just walk into our son's school and take him? I don't know, but I'm going to find him. I'm going to find our boy. You should have been there. Amara's voice cracked. I called you 5 times this morning. 5 times. I told you something was wrong with Chini, that the school wanted to see us, but you were too busy. Amara, this is not the time. When is the time, Nnamdi? When is it ever the time for your family? She was crying now, hard sobs that cut through him like razors. Our son is missing, and you're in your glass tower, and I'm here alone, and I don't know what to do. I'm coming home, right now. We'll find him together. But as Nnamdi grabbed his car keys, Chloe appeared in his doorway, face pale. Sir, your driver Uche just called. Your Lexus broke down on the 3rd mainland bridge. Engine failure. He's waiting for a tow truck. Then get me another car. Call Uber, call Bolt, I don't care. Sir, the bridge is completely blocked.
Accident involvigne à ton cœur.
Traffic isn't moving at all. Could be hours. Nnamdi wanted to scream. Lagos, in all its chaotic glory, had chosen this moment to trap him. He looked out his 20th floor window at the city sprawling below. Somewhere in those streets was his son. I'll walk, he said suddenly. Sir, I'll walk to the mainland and get a bike or something. I can't just sit here. He was already moving, grabbing his phone, his wallet. Mr. Okafor, you can't just walk through Lagos in a suit worth $500,000. But he was gone, taking the stairs because even waiting for the elevator felt like too much time wasted. If you're watching and your heart is already racing, drop a comment and tell me. Would you walk through the streets of Lagos for your child? Hit that like button because what happens next will shock you to your core. The heat hit Nnamdi like a physical wall the moment he stepped outside. Victoria Island's air-conditioned buildings had insulated him from the reality of Lagos in March. The oppressive humidity, the exhaust fumes, the chaos. He loosened his tie and started walking. By the time he'd crossed into Ito, his designer shoes were killing him. His shirt was soaked with sweat. People stared at this obviously wealthy man walking through neighborhoods where men like him only appeared in tinted SUVs. Oga, you need taxi? A Danfo driver called out. Which way to Mushin? Nnamdi asked. Mushin. The driver laughed. Oga, why you want go Mushin? Man like you. Just tell me. The driver pointed and Nnamdi kept walking. He didn't know why he was heading to Mushin. He'd grown up there, in a one-room apartment with his widowed mother, before scholarships and smart decisions had lifted him out. But something was pulling him in that direction. As he walked deeper into the mainland, the city transformed. The gleaming towers of Victoria Island gave way to crowded streets, open gutters, hawkers selling everything from phone chargers to roasted corn. This was the Lagos most of Nigeria knew. The Lagos he'd escaped. The Lagos he'd forgotten existed. His phone rang. Amara again. The police are here. They're saying we need to wait 24 hours before filing a missing person report. 24 hours. Nnamdi, he's 8 years old. I'll handle it. I'll call the commissioner directly. He stopped mid-sentence, his attention caught by something across the street. Near the corner of a busy intersection, under the shade of a struggling neem tree, sat a small boy. Torn school uniform, dirty face, cardboard sign propped against his knees. The world seemed to slow down. Nnamdi? Are you there? Nnamdi. The boy looked up, and their eyes met across the chaos of Lagos traffic. Okadas weaving between cars. Conductors shouting for passengers, generators roaring, life happening at maximum volume. Those eyes. Nnamdi knew those eyes. He'd seen them in the mirror every day for 42 years. Seen them in his father's old photographs. Seen them looking up at him from a hospital bassinet 8 years ago. The phone slipped from his hand, clattering on the pavement. Chini. The word came out as barely a whisper. The boy Chinedu, his son, his firstborn, his pride, sat on the dirty street of Mushin with a sign that read, "Please help. Hungry. No mama, no papa. Nobody want me." For a moment, Nnamdi's brain refused to process what his eyes were seeing. This couldn't be real. It was some kind of hallucination brought on by stress and heat. His son was missing. Yes, but he couldn't be here, sitting in the dirt, begging like the street children Nnamdi drove past every day without a second glance. Chinedu. Nnamdi's voice tore from his throat as he lunged into the street. A Danfo bus nearly hit him, the driver cursing loudly. Horns blared. But Nnamdi didn't care. He ran across the street, dodging traffic, his expensive shoes splashing through muddy puddles, his heart hammering so hard he thought it might explode. Chinedu's eyes went wide with terror. Not relief. Not joy at seeing his father. Terror. The boy scrambled to his feet, abandoning the cardboard sign, and ran. Chini, wait. It's Daddy. Stop. But Chinedu ran faster, disappearing into the crowd of people moving through Mushin Market. Nnamdi chased after him, pushing through the throng, his suit jacket catching on market stalls, vendors shouting at him. "Chinny, please, stop running." He caught glimpses. A flash of torn school uniform ducking between a suya spot and a provision store, small feet splashing through puddles, a terrified child running from his own father. Why was he running? Nnamdi's lungs burned. He wasn't built for this, too many years behind desks in boardrooms in the back of chauffeur-driven cars. But he pushed harder, driven by something primal. His child. His son. He turned a corner and nearly collided with Chinedu, who'd been trapped by a dead-end alley. The boy pressed himself against the wall, eyes wild, chest heaving. "Chinny, baby, it's okay. It's Daddy. I'm here. You're safe now." "No." Chinedu screamed. "You're not my daddy. My daddy doesn't want me anymore. He said so. He said you were going to send us away." Nnamdi froze. "What? Who said that?" "Baby, I would never. You have another family. Uncle Adrian showed me pictures. You and another woman and other children. He said you were going to throw us away like rubbish." The words hit Nnamdi like physical blows. "Adrian. Of course. Adrian. Chinny, listen to me. Whatever Uncle Adrian told you, it's not true. I don't have another family. There's only you and Chioma and your mother. You're my world. All of you. Then why are you never there?" Tears streamed down Chinedu's dirty face. "Why don't you come home? Why don't you play with me anymore? Why don't you love us?" And there it was. The truth that hurt worse than any betrayal, any business failure, any loss. His son thought he didn't love him. His 8-year-old boy thought he'd been abandoned. Nnamdi sank to his knees in the dirty alley, tears streaming down his face, not caring who saw, not caring about anything except the broken child in front of him. "I love you," he choked out. "Chinny, I love you more than anything in this world. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I made you think otherwise." "Then why am I here?" Chinedu's voice was small, lost. "Uncle Adrian said if I came here and asked people for help, if I showed them I was suffering, then you would wake up and see that we need you. He said this was the only way to make you care." Nnamdi's grief transformed into white-hot rage. Adrian had orchestrated this, had manipulated his 8-year-old son, had put his child on the streets of Lagos vulnerable to any danger just to, what? Prove a point? Break Nnamdi's focus so the merger would go through? "Did Uncle Adrian bring you here?" Nnamdi asked, forcing his voice to stay calm. Chinedu nodded. "This morning, he picked me up from school and said we were going to do something important. He gave me the sign and told me what to say. He said he'd be watching to make sure I did it right." The boy's voice dropped to a whisper. "He said if I didn't do it, something bad would happen to Mama and Chioma. Where is he now? I don't know. He left me here and said someone would come for me later." Nnamdi pulled his son into his arms, holding him tight, feeling the boy's small body shake with sobs. Around them, the market continued its chaos, people haggling, generators running, life going on. But in that moment, in that dirty alley in Mushin, Nnamdi Okafor's priorities rearranged themselves with brutal clarity. He'd built an empire. He'd achieved everything Nigeria said success looked like. But he'd lost sight of what mattered. And someone he'd trusted, someone he'd called friend and partner, had exploited that weakness to hurt his child. That ended today. "Come on, son," Nnamdi said, lifting Chinedu into his arms despite the boy being almost too big to carry. "Let's go home. And then Daddy is going to fix everything." As they walked back through the market, Nnamdi's phone, which he'd retrieved from where he'd dropped it, rang continuously. Amara, the office, the police. But he ignored them all. His son was safe. That was all that mattered right now. Everything else, the betrayal, the manipulation, the revenge, could wait until he'd gotten his family to safety. But make no mistake, Adrian Mensah had made the biggest mistake of his life. And Nnamdi Okafor, who'd clawed his way from Mushin poverty to tech empire, knew exactly how to destroy a man who'd threatened his family. The war was just beginning. The Uber driver kept glancing nervously at his rearview mirror during the ride back to Lekki. In his back seat sat a disheveled billionaire in a ruined designer suit, holding a dirty child who couldn't stop crying. The driver wanted to ask questions but wisely kept his mouth shut. Nnamdi held Chinedu tight, one hand stroking his son's head, the other texting Amara with shaking fingers. "I found him. We're coming home. He's safe." The response was immediate. "Thank God. Thank God. Thank God." Then, where was he? Nnamdi looked down at his son, who'd finally exhausted himself into silence, head resting against his father's chest. "How did you explain this? How did you tell a mother that someone had turned their child into a beggar on the streets?" "We'll talk when I get there. Is Chioma okay?" "She's with my mother. I didn't want her to see me like this." "Nnamdi, what happened? Where did you find him?" "I'll explain everything. Just get ready. This is going to be hard to hear." When the Uber pulled up to their mansion gates, Amara was already running out before the car fully stopped. She yanked open the door and pulled Chinedu from Nnamdi's arms, checking him over frantically, looking for injuries, for signs of harm, for anything that would explain the nightmare of the past 5 hours. My baby, are you hurt? Did anyone touch you?" "Chini, talk to Mama."
I'm okay, Mama," Chinedu whispered.
"I'm just tired." Amara looked at Nnamdi over their son's head. In her eyes, he saw relief warring with fury. Inside, "Now, I want answers." They settled in the living room, Nnamdi on one sofa, Amara on the other with Chinedu wrapped in her arms, refusing to let him go. The boy had stopped crying but stared at nothing, traumatized and hollow. "Start talking," Amara said, her voice deadly calm, the kind of calm that came before storms. So Nnamdi told her everything. Finding Chinedu begging in Mushin, the chase through the market, what their son had said about Adrian, about the photographs, about the threats. With each word, Amara's face grew harder. By the time he finished, her hands were clenched into fists. "Adrian," she said quietly, "your business partner, the man we've had in our home, the man who bounced Chioma on his knee, the man we trusted." She looked at Chinedu. "Baby, these pictures Uncle Adrian showed you? What were they of?" Chinedu's voice was barely audible. "Daddy with a lady. She was pretty, light-skinned. They were holding hands. There were children too. Uncle Adrian said they were my new brothers and sisters. That daddy loved them more than us." Nnamdi felt sick. "Chini, I promise you those pictures were fake. I don't know how he made them, but I believe you," Amara interrupted, "because I know my husband, and whatever his faults, infidelity isn't one of them." Her eyes locked on Nnamdi's. "But the question is why? Why would Adrian do this? What does he gain from terrorizing our son?" "The merger," Nnamdi said slowly, pieces clicking together. "He's been pushing hard for this South African deal. I've been resisting because something feels off about it. If he could prove I was unstable, distracted by family crisis, maybe even unfit to lead the company, he could push it through without you," Amara finished, "or push you out entirely. But to use our child? To put him on the streets of Lagos?" Nnamdi's voice broke. "What kind of monster?" His phone rang. "Chloe. Sir, Mr. Mensah is looking for you. He seems very agitated. He's asking where you went, why you left the office so suddenly." "Should I tell him about Chinedu?" "No," Nnamdi said sharply. "Don't tell him anything. I'll handle Adrian myself." After hanging up, Nnamdi looked at his wife. "I need to go to the office. I need evidence before I confront him. If I accuse him without proof, then don't go alone," Amara said. "And don't go without a plan." Before we continue with Nnamdi's investigation, let me ask you, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? Drop it in the comments. And hit that subscribe button because you need to see how this unfolds. Now back to the story. An hour later, Nnamdi sat in his office with Chloe, going through everything with forensic precision. Amara had insisted on coming too, leaving Chinedu with her mother and explicit instructions that no one, especially not Adrian, was to come near her son. "Pull up the school's visitor logs for the past month," Nnamdi instructed Chloe. I want to know every time someone signed Chinedu out early or visited him during school hours. Chloe's fingers flew across her keyboard. Within minutes, a spreadsheet appeared on the screen. Nnamdi's blood ran cold. There, Amara pointed. 2 weeks ago. Adrian Mensah, family friend, authorized by father for early pickup due to doctor's appointment. I never authorized that, Nnamdi said. And here, Chloe added. 3 weeks ago. Same thing. And a month before that. He's been taking our son from school for over a month? Amara's voice rose. How did we not know? Because I was never there, Nnamdi said bitterly. The school probably tried to verify with me, but all their calls went through the office, where I answered them, Chloe said quietly. Sir, I'm so sorry. Mr. Mensah said he was helping you out, that you'd asked him to handle some family matters while you were busy with the South African deal. He said you knew about the doctor's appointments. What doctor's appointments? Amara demanded. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Chloe pulled up more records. According to the school, Chinedu was being taken to a child psychologist for behavioral issues. Our son doesn't have behavioral issues. Amara was on her feet now. He's quiet, yes, but that's because his father is never home, not because he needs therapy. Unless someone wanted to establish a paper trail, Nnamdi said slowly, make it look like Chinedu was troubled, unstable, maybe even disturbed enough to run away or do something desperate. But why create that narrative? Chloe asked. Because, Nnamdi said, pulling up his company's partnership agreement, according to our contract, if either partner is deemed unfit to serve due to personal crises affecting judgment, the other partner can call for a competency review. With board approval, he could force me out. Amara read over his shoulder. And if you're out, he controls the company, gets to make all decisions about the merger. And based on what I've been finding, Nnamdi opened a file he'd been quietly investigating. The South African company isn't what it seems. He showed them the research he'd compiled, shell companies, suspicious financial flows, connections to known fraudsters. This isn't a legitimate merger. It's a scheme to strip Novateka's assets. Adrian isn't trying to grow the company. He's trying to hollow it out and sell the pieces. How much would he make? Chloe asked. Conservatively, $50 million US. Maybe more. And all that stood in his way was you, Amara said. So he had to remove you. But he needed a reason that wouldn't make him look like the villain. Enter the family crisis, Nnamdi finished. If I'm falling apart because my son is troubled, if I'm distracted and making poor decisions, then Adrian is just the responsible partner stepping up to save the company. But it backfired, Chloe said, because you found Chinedu before whatever Adrian had planned could fully play out. What do you think he had planned? Amara asked quietly. The question hung in the air. Nnamdi thought about his son on that street corner, vulnerable to any predator, any danger Lego streets offered. I don't know, he admitted. And I don't want to imagine. Chloe cleared her throat. Sir, there's something else. I pulled the CCTV footage from our building's parking garage. She brought up a video. This is from this morning, around 9:45 a.m. The footage showed Adrian's Range Rover entering the garage. He parked, but instead of getting out immediately, he sat in his car for several minutes, talking on his phone. Then another car pulled up beside him, a black Toyota Camry with tinted windows. A man got out of the Camry, tall, rough-looking, not the type who usually visited their corporate headquarters. Adrian handed him something, papers it looked like, and an envelope. Can you zoom in on the Camry's license plate? Nnamdi asked. Chloe enhanced the image. Within minutes, she'd run the plate through a database. It's registered to a company called Omega Security Solutions. Never heard of them, Nnamdi said. That's because they don't exist. Or rather, they existed for about 6 months last year, then dissolved. But before they did, they were investigated for... Chloe paused, face paling. For child trafficking. The room went silent. He wasn't just trying to scare our son, Amara whispered. He was going to... We don't know that, Nnamdi said quickly, though his stomach churned. We can't jump to conclusions. Can't we? Amara turned on him. He put our 8-year-old on the streets of Mushin. He threatened him. He's connected to people who traffic children. What conclusion should I jump to? Nnamdi? We need more evidence, Nnamdi said. We need to. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just an address in Aja and a message. If you want to know the truth about Adrian Mensah, come here. Tonight, 8 p.m. Come alone or you get nothing. It's a trap, Chloe said immediately. Obviously, Nnamdi agreed. But what if it's not? What if someone else knows what Adrian is doing? What if there are other victims? Then we go to the police, Amara insisted. We have evidence. The CCTV footage, the school records, Chinedu's testimony. Testimony of an 8-year-old who Adrian could claim was coached, Nnamdi countered. And the CCTV shows a meeting, nothing illegal. The school records show Adrian was authorized, forged authorization, yes, but proving that will take time. Time during which Adrian could destroy evidence, flee the country or hurt our family again, Amara finished. Another text. I have recordings of everything Adrian planned, including what he was going to do with your son after the begging didn't work. Your choice, Mr. Okafor. 8 p.m. Nnamdi looked at his wife, then at Chloe. I'm going. Not alone, Amara said firmly. If you're walking into a trap, you're not doing it without backup. Amara, don't you dare. She cut him off. Don't you dare tell me to stay home and be safe while you handle everything. This is our son, our family. We face this together or we don't face it at all. Nnamdi saw in his wife's eyes the woman he'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. Strong, fierce, unbending. Somewhere along the way, he'd stopped seeing her as a partner and started seeing her as someone to be protected, managed, kept separate from his real world. What a fool he'd been. Together, he agreed. But we do this smart. Chloe, I need you to set up a backup plan. If we're not back by 10 p.m., you send everything we found to the police, the media, everyone. Understood? Yes, sir. But Mr. Okafor? Be careful. People who play games like Adrian, they don't stop until they win or they're destroyed. As the sun set over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Nnamdi and Amara prepared for whatever the night would bring. Their son was safe for now. But the man who'd threatened him was still out there, still dangerous, still convinced he was untouchable. Tonight, one way or another, that would change. Because Nnamdi had learned something today. You could build the biggest empire in Africa, but if you lost your family in the process, you'd built nothing at all. And he'd be damned if Adrian Mensah took anything else from him. The drive to Aja was tense and silent. Nnamdi gripped the steering wheel of his backup Mercedes. The Lexus was still being towed from 3rd Mainland Bridge, while Amara sat beside him, phone in hand, ready to dial emergency numbers at the first sign of trouble. Tell me again why we're doing this instead of going to the police, Amara said as they navigated through evening traffic on Lekki Ape Expressway. Because the police will want concrete evidence. Right now, we have suspicious circumstances and our son's testimony. Adrian's a respected businessman with connections. Without ironclad proof, this becomes he said she said. Nnamdi glanced at her. But if this person has recordings like they claim, then we have him, Amara finished. I just hope this isn't Adrian setting us up. That's why Chloe has all our files. If this goes wrong, at least the truth comes out. The address led them to a rundown area of Aja, far from the developing estates and beach resorts. Here, the buildings were older, packed tight together, with clothes hanging from windows and children playing football in the streets despite the approaching darkness. There, Amara pointed to a faded yellow building with a small sign, Grace and Hope Social Services. They parked and approached cautiously. The door opened before they could knock. A woman stood there, late 40s, tired eyes, hair pulled back in a simple bun. She wore a faded Ankara dress and the weary expression of someone who'd seen too much of life's darker side. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, she said.
I'm Grace Adewale.
Thank you for coming. Please, come inside. The office was small but clean, with filing cabinets lining one wall and children's drawings covering another. Grace gestured to two plastic chairs across from her desk. "How do you know who we are?" Nnamdi asked, remaining standing. "And what do you know about Adrian Mensah?" "I know he's a monster who preys on vulnerable families," Grace said bluntly. "And I know your son is the latest victim in a pattern that's been going on for almost 2 years." Amara sank into one of the chairs. "What do you mean, pattern?" Grace pulled out a folder, thick with documents. "I run a social service organization. We help street children, homeless families, people who fall through the cracks. About 18 months ago, I started noticing something strange. Children from middle-class families suddenly appearing on the streets, begging. When I'd approach them, try to help, they'd run away, terrified." She laid out photographs on the desk. 5 children ranging from about 6 to 10 years old. "These are the ones I managed to photograph. There were others. They'd appear for a few days, maybe a week, then vanish. I thought maybe they were part of some begging syndicate, but something felt different." "Different how?" Nnamdi leaned forward, studying the photos. The children were too clean underneath the dirt. Their fear was too specific, not the general wariness of street kids, but terror of something particular. And they all had the same story. Their parents didn't love them anymore. They'd been replaced by new families. Amara's hand flew to her mouth. "Just like Chinny. Exactly like your son," Grace confirmed. "So I started investigating, following the children when I could, trying to find patterns. That's when I discovered they were all connected to one man." She pulled out a photo of Adrian Mensah at some corporate event, looking polished and successful. "Adrian," Nnamdi breathed. "I didn't know his name at first, but I saw him, watching the children, making sure they were begging properly, sometimes taking them away when they didn't perform well enough." Grace's voice hardened. "Then I started digging into his business connections, his financial records as much as I could access legally. Do you know what I found?" "Tell us," Amara said. "A pattern of targeting successful business partners. Men and women who had something he wanted, a company, a contract, a piece of property. He'd befriend them, gain their trust, learn their weaknesses. If they had children, that became his leverage." Grace pulled out more documents, bank statements, emails, photographs. He'd take the children, usually with fake authorization from schools or daycare. Then he'd psychologically manipulate them, show them doctored photos of their parents with new families, tell them they were being replaced, abandoned. Some children he'd put on the streets to beg. Others he'd threaten more directly. "What happened to them?" Nnamdi asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "The parents would fall apart. Distracted by family crisis, they'd make poor business decisions, miss important meetings, lose focus. And Adrian would step in as the stable, reliable partner who could save the company. He'd force buyouts, take control, or push through deals that benefited him enormously." Grace paused. "In 3 cases, the parents were so destroyed they signed over everything just to get their children back safely." "This is insane," Amara whispered. "How is he not in prison?" "Because he's clever." The children who were returned were too traumatized to testify clearly. The parents were too ashamed. They blamed themselves for not protecting their children. And Adrian always had plausible deniability. He was just a concerned friend helping out during a crisis. "You said you have recordings," Nnamdi said urgently. "Evidence we can use." Grace nodded. 2 months ago, one of the mothers contacted me. Her daughter had been through Adrian's scheme. The child was in therapy, finally starting to talk about what happened. The mother was brave enough to want justice. She pulled out a recording device. We set up a meeting with Adrian. The mother wore a wire. She confronted him about what he'd done to her daughter. She pressed play. Adrian's voice came through, smooth and unbothered. "I don't know what you're talking about. Your daughter ran away because you're an unfit mother. That's what my lawyer will argue if you try to make accusations." The mother's voice, shaking. "She told me everything. How you showed her pictures. How you threatened her. How you made her beg on the streets of Ikeja." Adrian, laughing. Children have vivid imaginations, especially troubled ones from broken homes. You really should get her professional help. I know about the others. The other children you've used. I've been talking to their parents. The sound changed, movement, a scuffle. Then Adrian's voice, no longer smooth, but cold and threatening. Listen to me very carefully. You will drop this. You will take your damaged daughter and disappear. Because if you don't, I will make sure Child Protective Services knows about your drinking problem. About the men you bring home. About what an unfit mother you really are. I have evidence. Photographs. Witnesses. All fabricated, of course, but who will they believe? A respected businessman? Or a struggling single mother? You're a monster. I'm a businessman. And in business, you use the leverage you have. Your daughter was leverage. Just like every other weak point I've exploited. So run along, and be grateful I'm letting you keep her. The recording ended. The office was silent except for the sound of Amara's quiet crying. That woman, Nnamdi said hoarsely. Where is she now? She moved to Calabar with her daughter. Changed their names. She was too afraid to press charges, even with the recording. Adrian has powerful connections. Lawyers, politicians, police commissioners. Grace looked at them steadily. But you're different. You have resources, platform, the kind of visibility that makes it harder for him to make you disappear. He targeted our son, Amara said, anger cutting through her tears. He terrorized Chinny, made him believe we didn't love him. I know. Grace's voice softened. And I'm sorry. When I saw the news about your son being missing, then found this afternoon, I knew Adrian had struck again. That's why I reached out. Because maybe, finally, we can stop him. What do we need to do? Nnamdi asked. First, get your son to safety. Real safety, not just your house. Adrian knows where you live. Send him away, maybe to relatives in another state with security. Grace pulled out more files. Second, we need to find the other families. Get them to come forward together. Strength in numbers. They're afraid, Amara pointed out. They were afraid alone. But together, with a prominent family like yours leading the charge, that changes the calculation. Grace looked at Nnamdi. You have influence, Mr. Okafor. Media contacts. Business connections. Use them. What about the police? Nnamdi asked. We have this recording now, which was obtained without Adrian's knowledge, so it might not be admissible in court. But it's a start. Grace leaned forward. Here's what I propose. We go to the police together with all the evidence. But we also go to the media. Make this so public that Adrian can't make it disappear. Nnamdi pulled out his phone, opened his contacts. I know someone at Channels TV, and another at The Punch. If I give them this story, it goes viral before Adrian can stop it, Grace finished. Exactly. But we need more than just the recording, Amara said, thinking like the architect she'd once been, structural, methodical. We need the other families willing to testify. We need documentation of the fake authorizations he used. We need Chinny's testimony, Nnamdi said quietly. Our son will have to relive his trauma. Talk about what Adrian did to him. No, Amara said immediately. He's 8 years old. He's been through enough. I know, Nnamdi said. But if we don't do this, if we don't stop Adrian now, he'll do it to other children. And Chinny will grow up knowing the man who hurt him is still out there. Still free. Still hurting others. Before Amara could respond, Nnamdi's phone rang. Chloe. Sir, we have a problem. Mr. Mensah just showed up at your house. He's demanding to see you and Mrs. Okafor. He says it's urgent about the company. Your security won't let him in, but he's not leaving. And sir, Chloe's voice dropped. He's asking about Chinedu, where he is, if he's okay. He seems very interested in knowing exactly where your son is right now. Nnamdi's blood ran cold. Tell security to keep him out. Call the police if he won't leave. And Chloe, make sure Amara's mother knows not to open the door to anyone. Not even Adrian. After hanging up, he looked at Grace. We need to move fast. Tonight. before Adrian realizes we're onto him. Agreed, Grace said. I'll contact the other families. You handle the media and police. But Mr. Okafor, she stood, extending her hand. Be prepared. Men like Adrian don't go down quietly. He's gonna fight back with everything he has. Let him, Nnamdi said, shaking her hand firmly. He made one critical mistake. What's that? He went after my family, and I didn't build a tech empire from nothing by backing down from fights. As they drove back toward Lekki, Amara turned to her husband. I want to talk about us. About what led to this. Now? Yes, now. Because Adrian didn't create our problems. Nnamdi. He just exploited them. She took a breath. Chini believed Adrian's lies because you were never home. Because he barely knew his own father. Because I've been raising our children essentially alone while you built your empire. The words stung because they were true. I know, Nnamdi said quietly. And I'm sorry. I thought I was building something for our future, but I was really just running from my past. The poverty. The struggle. I was so afraid of ending up back in Mushin that I forgot why I was trying to escape in the first place. To give our family a better life, Amara said. But Chini doesn't need another mansion or fancy car. He needs his father. I know that now, and after this is over, things are going to change. I promise. You've promised before. I know. But this time, Nnamdi reached for her hand. This time I understand what I almost lost, and I will never let that happen again. Amara squeezed his hand. Then let's finish this. Together. Let's protect our son and stop this monster from hurting anyone else. As they pulled into their driveway, they could see Adrian's Range Rover still parked outside the gate, a dark shape in the night. The war had come to their doorstep. But this time, Nnamdi Okafor was ready. Adrian Mensah stood beside his Range Rover, arms crossed, the picture of controlled irritation. When Nnamdi's Mercedes pulled up to the gate, Adrian's expression shifted to one of practiced concern. Nathan, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all day. Where have you been? The board is asking questions. Investors are concerned. He stopped when he saw Amara in the passenger seat. Mrs. Okafor, I hope everything is all right with the family. Nnamdi got out of the car slowly, measuring his words. Every instinct screamed to lunge at this man, to beat him senseless for what he'd done to Chinedu. But Grace's warning echoed in his mind. Men like Adrian don't go down quietly. Everything is fine now, Nnamdi said carefully. We found Chinedu. Found him? Was he lost? Adrian's concern looked genuine, almost. But Nnamdi could see it now, the calculation behind the eyes. The performance. Someone took him from school this morning, using forged authorization with my signature. That's terrible. Have you called the police? I can make some calls. I know the commissioner of police personally. I'm sure you do, Amara said coldly, stepping out of the car. How convenient. Adrian's eyes narrowed slightly. Mrs. Okafor, I understand you're upset. But, where were you this morning between 9:30 and 11 a.m.? Nnamdi asked. I was at the office. You know this. I was in the board meeting with you until you ran out without explanation. Adrian's tone shifted, became sharper. Nathan, what's going on? Why are you asking me these questions? Because the CCTV footage shows you leaving the building at 9:45, meeting someone in the parking garage. Someone from a company that doesn't exist anymore. A company that was investigated for child trafficking. The mask slipped. Just for a second, but Nnamdi saw it. The flash of genuine emotion behind Adrian's polished exterior. Not guilt. Not shame. Rage. I don't know what you think you saw, Adrian said slowly. But I was in that building all morning. You're clearly under stress, Nathan. Seeing things that aren't there. Maybe you should take some time off. Let me handle the company for a while. Is that what this is about? Nnamdi stepped closer. The company? You orchestrated all of this. Terrorizing my son. Putting him on the streets. Just to push through your corrupt merger deal. You're being paranoid. We have recordings, Adrian. Amara's voice cut like a blade. Of you admitting what you've done. To other children. other families. We know everything. Adrian went very still. When he spoke again, his voice had changed completely. No more pretense, no more friendly business partner. Recordings obtained illegally are inadmissible in court. Any lawyer worth his retainer will get them thrown out. Maybe, Nnamdi said, but they'll play beautifully on the evening news. You're bluffing. Try me. Nnamdi pulled out his phone. One call to Channels TV. One interview about how Adrian Mensah, respected tech entrepreneur, has been manipulating children to destroy his business partners. How he put an 8-year-old boy on the streets of Mushin. How he's connected to child trafficking rings. Think your political connections can bury that story before it spreads across social media. Adrian's jaw clenched. You have no idea what you're starting.
No, Adrian.
You started this when you touched my son. I'm just finishing it. For a long moment, the two men stared at each other. Then Adrian smiled. A cold, reptilian expression. You think you've won? You think some bad publicity will stop me? I have lawyers who make problems disappear. I have friends in EFCC, in the police, in government. And I have evidence. Real evidence, not illegally obtained recordings. That will destroy you. What evidence? Amara demanded. The money you've been secretly moving offshore, Nathan. The bribes you've paid to win government contracts. The tax evasion. All documented. All ready to be delivered to the appropriate authorities. Adrian's smile widened. I've been preparing for this possibility for months. Insurance, you might call it. Those transactions are fabricated, Nnamdi said, but his stomach dropped. If Adrian had falsified financial records as skillfully as he'd falsified everything else, prove it. While you're fighting fraud charges and EFCC investigations, I'll be dismantling your company piece by piece. And your son. Adrian leaned in closer. He'll grow up knowing his father went to prison. That you lost everything trying to fight a battle you couldn't win. Get off my property, Nnamdi said quietly. Now. Before I forget, I'm a civilized man. Gladly. But this isn't over, Nathan. This is just beginning. Adrian walked back to his Range Rover. Before getting in, he turned back. Oh, and the board meeting tomorrow? At 9 a.m.? I'll be proposing your immediate removal as CEO. I already have the votes. Enjoy your last night at the top. As Adrian drove away, Amara grabbed Nnamdi's arm. Is it true? About the offshore accounts and bribes?
No.
But he's right that disproving fabricated evidence takes time. Time during which the company reputation gets destroyed, investors pull out, and Adrian consolidates control. So what do we do? Nnamdi looked at his wife, then at his house where his children slept, then at the phone in his hand. We don't wait for tomorrow's board meeting. We strike first. Tonight. If you think Nnamdi is about to unleash everything he's got, you're right. Hit that like button and drop a comment. What would you do in his position? Now let's watch Adrian's world burn. Inside the house, Nnamdi made calls. First to his lawyer, the best corporate attorney in Lagos. Then to his accountant. Then to Channels TV, promising an exclusive interview. Then to the commissioner of police, not Adrian's contact, but a different one. Someone Nnamdi had helped years ago when the man's daughter needed an emergency scholarship. We're going scorched earth, he told Chloe over video call. She sat in the Novatech offices with her laptop. Ready. Release everything to the media. The CCTV footage of Adrian meeting with the trafficking suspect. The school records showing his unauthorized pickups. Grace Adewale's documentation of the other families. Every piece of evidence we have. Sir, once we do this, there's no taking it back, Chloe warned. I know. Do it anyway. While Chloe worked, Nnamdi's lawyer reviewed the falsified financial records Adrian had threatened to release. These are sophisticated forgeries, the lawyer said. But they have a fatal flaw. They show transactions on dates when your accounts were frozen during the last audit. Impossible to move money during a freeze. Any forensic accountant will spot this immediately. How long to prove they're fake? 48 hours. Maybe less. We might not have 48 hours. Then we need to prevent Adrian from releasing them until we can debunk them. The lawyer thought for a moment. What if we get a court injunction? Claim he's attempting to defame you with fabricated evidence. Get a temporary restraining order preventing him from releasing any information pending investigation. Can you file tonight? I'll have a judge's signature within 2 hours. Next, Grace Adewale called. I've reached 4 of the other families. They're scared, but they're willing to give statements to the police. One mother said she'll go on camera if it means stopping Adrian. Tell her she's a hero, Nnamdi said. And tell all of them they're not alone anymore. By midnight, the pieces were in motion. The media had the story. The police had statements from multiple victims. The court had injunction paperwork. And Nnamdi had one more move to make. He called Adrian. Couldn't sleep. Adrian's voice was smug. Worried about tomorrow? Tomorrow's cancelled, Nnamdi said. Check your phone. Check the news. Check your lawyer's messages. Silence. Then the sound of typing. Then, what did you do? What you should have expected. I went to war. Channels TV is running the story in their morning broadcast. Tech billionaire accused of child manipulation scheme. Complete with recordings, testimony from 5 families, and CCTV evidence. CNN Africa picked it up. BBC is calling for comment. And the police? They're at your house right now with a warrant for your arrest. You bastard! The injunction prevents you from releasing your fabricated evidence. The forensic audit proves it's fake anyway. The board just received an emergency email with all the documentation of your schemes. And the South African merger? I contacted the CEO directly. Turns out they had no idea their company was being used in a fraud scheme. They're pulling out and cooperating with authorities. Adrian's breathing was heavy on the line. I'll destroy you for this.
No, Adrian.
You're done destroying people. Done manipulating children. Done using fear as leverage. Nnamdi's voice hardened. My son is 8 years old. You made him beg on the streets. You terrorized him. You threatened my family. Did you really think I'd let that go? This isn't over. Yes, it is. The police are at your door. Your assets are being frozen. Your reputation is destroyed. And every parent whose child you hurt is ready to testify against you. Nnamdi paused. You said I didn't know what I was starting. You were wrong. You didn't know who you were starting this with. He hung up. Amara stood in the doorway, having heard everything. Is it really over? The legal part is just beginning. But Adrian's finished. He can't hurt anyone else now. And us? Our family? Nnamdi pulled her close. Come with me. There's someone who needs to hear what happened. They went upstairs to Chinedu's room. Their son was awake, sitting up in bed, eyes wide in the darkness. I heard talking, Chini said quietly. Is Uncle Adrian coming back? Nnamdi sat on the bed, Amara beside him. No, baby. Uncle Adrian is never coming back. The police have him now. He can't hurt you anymore. Did I get him in trouble? By telling you what he did. You didn't get him in trouble, Chini. He got himself in trouble by doing bad things. You were very brave to tell us the truth. Chinedu was quiet for a moment. Then, Daddy? Why was I not enough? The question broke Nnamdi's heart. What do you mean? Why wasn't I enough to make you stay home? Why did you always choose work instead of me? Amara's hand tightened on Nnamdi's, but she let him answer. Because I was stupid, Nnamdi said honestly. Because I thought being a good father meant giving you things, nice house, good schools, expensive toys. But those aren't what make a good father. Being there makes a good father. Playing with you, talking to you, knowing what makes you happy and what makes you sad. And I failed at that. Are you going to fail again? Chinedu's voice was small, uncertain. I'm going to try very hard not to. But Chini, if I start working too much again or missing things that are important, I need you to tell me. Can you do that? You won't get mad? I promise I won't get mad. Because you're more important than any job, any company, any amount of money. You and your sister and your mother, you're what matters. It took me almost losing you to remember that. And I'm so sorry. Chinedu was quiet. Then he climbed into Nnamdi's lap like he hadn't done in years, curling up small. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, son. So much. More than you'll ever know. They sat like that for a long time. Mother, father, and child, rebuilding trust one quiet moment at a time. Outside, Lagos slept. But in newsrooms across the city, the story was breaking. Adrian Mensa's carefully constructed world was collapsing. And by morning, everyone would know what happened when you threaten the wrong family. Justice, Nnamdi thought, holding his son close. Finally, justice. 3 months later, Nnamdi sat in Dr. Folake Adeyemi's office, holding Amara's hand. The therapist's office was warm and comfortable. Soft lighting, colorful artwork on the walls, a couch instead of clinical chairs. Every Thursday at 4 p.m., the Okafor family came here. Sometimes all together, sometimes just the adults, sometimes just the children. Today was a family session. So, Chinedu, Dr. Adeyemi said gently, you said last week that you wanted to talk about the nightmares. Are they getting better? Chini, sitting between his parents with Chioma playing quietly with dolls nearby, nodded slowly. A little bit. I still dream about the street sometimes. About people walking past me like I'm invisible. But Daddy comes and finds me now. In the dreams, that's good progress. Dr. Adeyemi smiled. And how do you feel when you wake up from those dreams? Scared at first. But then I remember Uncle Adrian is in prison. And Daddy is home. He's always home now when I wake up. Nnamdi squeezed his son's shoulder. It was true. He'd restructured everything at Novatech, promoted Chloe to chief operating officer, hired a new executive team, and set strict boundaries. Work ended at 5 p.m. every day. Weekends were sacred. And every Thursday, therapy was non-negotiable. Mr. Okafor, Dr. Adeyemi turned to Nnamdi. You mentioned wanting to discuss something today? Nnamdi took a deep breath. I want to talk about what I'm learning. About being present versus being perfect. He looked at his children. For years, I thought being a good father meant providing the best of everything. Best schools, best house, best opportunities. But I was measuring success by the wrong metrics. What are the right metrics? Dr. Adeyemi asked. Whether my kids feel loved. Whether they feel safe. Whether they know, beyond any doubt, that they matter more than anything else in my life. His voice cracked slightly. Chini didn't believe those things, because I never showed him. I was too busy building an empire to notice I was losing my kingdom. Amara leaned her head on his shoulder. We're both learning. I was so focused on managing the household, on being the perfect wife, that I stopped being partners with my husband. We were living in the same house but leading separate lives. And now? Dr. Adeyemi asked. Now we talk, Amara said. Every night after the kids sleep, we sit together and actually communicate. About our day, our fears, our needs. It's not always easy, but it's real. Mama and Daddy don't fight as much. Chioma offered helpfully from her corner. And Daddy makes pancakes on Saturdays now. They're terrible, but we eat them anyway. Everyone laughed, breaking the tension. They're getting better, Nnamdi protested, grinning. After the session, they drove to the National Stadium in Surulere. The media vans were already there, a smaller crowd than 3 months ago, but still significant. Today was the press conference. The moment Nnamdi had been both anticipating and dreading. Grace Adewale met them at the entrance. Are you ready for this? As ready as I'll ever be, Nnamdi said. The conference room was packed. Journalists from every major outlet, cameras, recording equipment. But also, and this was what mattered, 5 other families. The mothers and fathers whose children had been Adrian's victims. They sat in the front row, united in their courage. Nnamdi stepped to the podium, Amara beside him, Chinedu holding his hand. 3 months ago, Nnamdi began, his voice steady. My son was manipulated, terrorized, and put on the streets to beg. The man who did this was my business partner, someone I trusted, someone I called friend. Adrian Mensa has been arrested and charged with multiple counts of child endangerment, fraud, attempted kidnapping, and conspiracy. But this press conference isn't about him. He looked down at Chinedu. It's about the children. about the 5 brave families standing with us today, about making sure this never happens to anyone else. Before we continue with this powerful moment, I need you to do something. If this story has touched you, if you've learned something about family, about priorities, about what really matters, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me, what's one thing you'll do differently with your family after hearing this story? And subscribe to TeeJay Stories because we're just getting started. Now, let's finish Nnamdi's journey. One by one, the other parents spoke. A single mother from Ikeja whose daughter had been through Adrian's scheme 2 years ago. A businessman from Abuja whose son had been threatened. A widow whose child had been told his mother didn't want him anymore. Each story was heartbreaking. Each story was a testament to survival. When they finished, a journalist asked the question everyone was thinking. Mr. Okafor, you've announced you're stepping back from day-to-day operations at Novatech. Some are calling this career suicide. What do you say to that? Nnamdi smiled. I say I'm redefining what success means. Yes, I'm delegating most operational duties. Yes, I'm working fewer hours. But Novatech is thriving under new leadership, and I'm finally present for the people who matter most. If that's career suicide, then I'm guilty as charged. And what about Adrian Mensah? Do you feel you got justice? Adrian will face justice in court. The evidence against him is overwhelming. But the real justice? It's in these families healing. It's in these children learning to trust again. It's in making sure every parent understands that no amount of success is worth sacrificing your family. Another journalist. What would you say to parents who are struggling to balance work and family? Nnamdi looked directly into the camera. I'd say your children won't remember the size of your house or the brand of your car. They'll remember whether you were there, whether you showed up, whether they felt loved. He pulled Chinedu closer. I almost lost everything chasing things that didn't matter. Don't make my mistake. After the press conference, they went to Nnamdi's office but not to work. Today was special. Chini, Nnamdi said, leading his son to the executive desk. Sit here. In your chair. Chinedu's eyes went wide. In our chair. Because today you're the CEO. And your first job is to help Daddy with something important. Together, they reviewed the proposal Nnamdi had been working on for weeks. The Okafor Foundation for Child Protection. Funded with 20% of Novatech's profits, it would provide resources for families in crisis, therapy for traumatized children, and advocacy for stronger child protection laws. We're going to help other kids like me? Chinedu asked. Exactly like you. Kids who are scared, who feel alone, who need someone to fight for them. Nnamdi knelt beside his son. You turned your pain into purpose, Chini. That's the bravest thing anyone can do. Will it make the nightmares go away? Maybe not all of them, but it means they won't be for nothing. It means something good came from something bad. That evening, the Okafor family had dinner together at their dining table. No phones, no laptops, no distractions, just conversation, laughter, and the simple joy of being together. Daddy? Chioma asked around a mouthful of jollof rice. Are you going to be home tomorrow too? Tomorrow and the day after and the day after that, Nnamdi promised. Forever? She pressed. Forever, he agreed. Then more honestly, well, I still have to work sometimes, but never so much that you forget what I look like. Deal? Deal. After the children were in bed, Nnamdi and Amara sat on their balcony, looking out over Lagos. The city lights stretched endlessly, millions of lives unfolding in the darkness. Do you regret it? Amara asked. Stepping back from the company? All the deals you're turning down. Not for a second, Nnamdi said. I built Novatech to prove I was somebody. To escape poverty, to matter, to be respected. But I already was somebody. I was a husband and a father. I just forgot that was enough. It's more than enough, Amara said softly. You're exactly enough. They sat in comfortable silence, hands intertwined, watching their city breathe. Adrian Mensah's trial would start next month. The legal battles would continue. The healing would take time. But tonight, in this moment, the Okafor family was whole. And that, Nnamdi thought, was the only success that truly mattered. What an incredible journey we've been on together. From the devastating moment Nnamdi found his son begging on the streets to this beautiful restoration. This story reminds us that it's never too late to choose what really matters. If this story moved you, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button. Let me know this resonated with you. Your likes tell me you want more powerful stories like this. Second, drop a comment below and tell me, what's the most important lesson you're taking from Nnamdi's story? Have you ever had to choose between career and family? How did you handle it? This community thrives on real conversations, and I read every single comment. Third, share this video. Someone in your life needs to hear this message. Maybe it's a parent who's working too much. Maybe it's someone struggling to balance everything. Maybe it's someone who needs to remember that their presence matters more than their presence. Send them this video. It might change their life. And if you haven't already, subscribe to TeeJay Stories and hit that notification bell. We bring you the most powerful African tales every week. Stories of redemption, justice, love, and transformation. Stories that don't just entertain, but inspire you to be better. I'm TeeJay, and I want to leave you with this. Success isn't measured by the size of your empire. It's measured by the strength of your family, the depth of your relationships, and whether the people you love know they matter. Don't wait for a crisis to teach you this lesson. Learn it now. Be present. Show up. Choose love. Until next time, stay blessed, stay present, and remember your family is watching. Make sure they like what they see. Like, comment, subscribe, share. And I'll see you in the next story.